happening, guys, and welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Core Class Noah Diaz Exosuit and Terracon NOVAKANE. Now, as we check out the packaging, first up here we have the one for the Exosuit. Incredible CG renders here, and the product shots are also looking pretty impressive. I was so excited when they dropped the reveal for this one, as I loved the Exosuit in the movie, so I'm definitely very excited to check this one out. And next up here we have the box art for Terracon NOVAKANE. The CG renders this one has, I believe, are exactly the same as what we saw from Frieza, so really not too much different here. So, first up here we have Terracon NOVAKANE, who is the second out of two main sweeps that Scourge had in the movie. This is one of the little menaces that kind of ejects out of his back and Scourge sends into the museum in pursuit of the Transwarp Key, and it is a really nicely done looking figure. I loved it first time round when it was originally released as Frieza, and it is pretty decent here for NOVAKANE, as it does feature a brand new battle damaged head sculpt. So, it really does seem like he's been in battle against Megan Fox, as the right hand side has been blasted off, and he's even missing a chunk of the crest, but that is some sick detail. I mean, check out the singed effect that we have there. That looks pretty awesome, but the rest of the body is pretty much exactly the same as Frieza, although there are some slight differences in the paint, which we'll check out later on in the video. But yeah, it's an excellent figure. These never transformed in the movie, so the robot mode design is near enough spot on to what we saw on screen, and the ball joints for this specific figure do feel way tighter when in comparison to the past release, so that's definitely pretty awesome. Now, despite him never transforming in the movie, Hasbro did pack in 4 different modes for this guy, including the robot form, so let's check some of those out. So the second mode that NOVAKANE has is what I like to call the Target Master form. It's basically where you can transform him into a blaster, which you can equip with any of the other Terracons. Seeing as Battle Trap didn't include any firepower, I do like to give it to him, so he stands a slight chance of going up against Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal. But yeah, it looks okay, seeing as he's never transformed in the movie. To be fair, I can't be too critical of the way this looks. The third mode this guy has is what I like to call the Quad Pod Turret. Doesn't really look like much, but my headcanon is that maybe Scourge's blast that fells him on the battlefield, he takes one of these Terracons, skins them from the inside out, grabs a hold of their feet and starts firing away at the Autobots on the battlefield. And then the fourth, final, and possibly best weapon mode that NOVAKANE has is the ability to be paired with the leader class Scourge. Now, considering these do eject out of his back in the movie, it would stand to reason that if Scourge needs some firepower when in truck mode, that one of these little baddies eject out of the back and begin blasting away at some of the Autobots on the highway. And to be fair, I do think this makes the rear of Scourge's truck look slightly more interesting than just the generic stock transformation. Now let's check out Noah Diaz's Exosuit, and this is a release which I've been so excited to finally get my hands on. I think I've been anticipating it as much as the likes of both Nightbird and Mirage, because I loved how they gave the humans a purpose during that final battle. You know, to see Noah gain the Exosuit and actually battle alongside Optimus Prime against big threats such as Scourge and the Terracon army was such a breath of fresh air, and I really hope that he does keep this suit going forwards. But awesome detail. When this was first announced, I and many collectors had one big issue with it, and it's that despite the detail looking fantastic from the front, he had an enormous backpack. Now, in the movie, the Exosuit never actually transformed, so it was a shame to see this kind of plague the robot mode design, but Hasbro have actually engineered this, so bang! You can completely detach the backpack away from the Exosuit, which I think is incredible. Now, we'll talk more about this later on during the video, but look how sleek and slender this Exosuit is, and because it's basically compiled by parts from Mirage, the design is very similar to Mirage's robot mode, so I thought that was a pretty sweet touch. But as we check out the helmet design, so nicely detailed as well as painted. They did decide to go against putting the likeness of the actor inside. Personally, I think that was a good idea, especially for the scale, but check out the details that we have here for the chest unit, and the mechanical paneling for the thighs and the shins I think is on point. Now, he does have a pre-built-in blade. We did see him use this quite a lot in the movie when he was helping Prime to take out Scourge and when he was slicing and dicing some Terracons, so that's pretty awesome. We do get some nice metallic silver here along the side, and as we flip this guy around to the back, they've actually detailed this to match the jetpack that Noah had in the movie, so we do get a pair of intakes, which I thought was pretty cool. It's just a banging core class, definitely one of the best that I've reviewed this year, especially for the Rise of the Beast line. Now, in terms of articulation, despite his small scale, he is so poseable. The head is on a ball joint, so this can look up all the way, which is excellent, especially for getting him into some of those in-flight poses. It can look down, it can rotate left to right. The shoulders too are on ball joints, so these can go all the way around, hinge out to the sides, ball jointed elbows which can bend and rotate. The torso articulation is incredible, so this can rock forwards and backwards. He has an actual ab crunch, and this is only a core class figure. It can rotate all the way around, the hips can kick forwards that far, as well as can kick roughly back to that far. They'll go out to the sides, ball jointed knees, so these can also rotate as well, and then finally the ankles can bend backwards, forwards, as well as rock side to side. So it is indeed possible to recreate the "he is not alone" pose from the movie, which I thought was incredible. This paired alongside the buzzworthy Bumblebee Optimus Prime is just awesome, and as I said, I really hope to see the exosuit return for future live action movies, as it was so wicked to see Noah actually throwing it down alongside Optimus Prime against the Terracons. But it's not over for Noah just yet, as Yeoh Scourge! Check out his cannon, so nicely detailed as well as painted. It's also blast effect compatible, so you can really have this guy destroying the Terracons on the battlefield, which I thought was pretty sick. And I also like how it encases the entire forearm to really give you the impression that it has transformed out of the arm, much like we saw in the movie. So accessory wise, this guy is great. He pretty much includes both of the main weapons that we see him use to take out some of those Terracons. And the jetpack, which we removed previously, can also be turned into a blaster, so if you attach the cannon onto the front end and spin this here to the underside, it does expose a 5mm post, which you will not use in either robot or jet mode. So this is specifically designed to be paired with other Transformers figures, such as Mirage himself, and it is a pretty decent looking cannon, so I do like how it is optional to remove the kibble, and if you do decide to do so, it also has a purpose in kind of its kibbly mode. So yeah, that's pretty sweet. Although, much like you guys, I think there is a massive missed opportunity here not to make the jetpack compatible with the Rise of the Beast Nightbird, as she's definitely in need of some slightly larger wings, and they are here, but there is just no official way to actually peg this onto one another, which I think sucks, especially as they did go out of their way to make the core class NOVAKANE / Freezer compatible with Scourge. It would have been epic had you been able to attach this jetpack onto Nightbird, or at the very least, even attach this onto the rear of Optimus Prime, as unfortunately his truck bed didn't look too great either. Now, as we check out a few comparisons, first up we have Freezer compared alongside NOVAKANE. Now, despite me much preferring the battle damage head sculpt of NOVAKANE, I've got to keep it real with you guys, I much prefer the copper colouring of Freezer. I just think it matches what we saw in the movie a lot better than as opposed to this very pale, almost greenish-like colour that we have here with NOVAKANE. But as I mentioned previously, towards the final battle, there ended up being thousands of these things, so I wouldn't mind betting that in the future, maybe Hasbro take either one of these guys and once again retools and repaints them, and if they do, I'm hoping they opt for a colour which better matches the original than as opposed to the latest release. Now, as we check out quite a few comparisons for the exosuit, on the left hand side we have RC, and on the right hand side we have NOVAKANE. Now, in terms of just general core class scaling, he's a pretty decent size, but if we were to go by what we saw from the movie, I do believe he's slightly oversized, but this is really a case where I don't so much mind it, because the whole idea of Noah gaining the exosuit is so that he can be more equipped to take on Terracon threats. So surely it would just stand to reason that he would be much bigger, especially as the majority of the pieces from Mirage did kind of wrap around his human body in the movie. So personally, in terms of practicality, this makes perfect sense to me, but we all know how the live action movies love to mass shift, so if you are a scale nut, then I can definitely see this becoming a little annoying in terms of display. Here's how he stacks up alongside the original 86 movie exosuit and the Bumblebee movie studio series Shockwave. Personally, I think that Noah is a much better exosuit than the original, although I am slightly biased to the live action movie, so of course I'm going to be saying that. Here he is compared alongside two deluxe figures, so we have Mirage and Bumblebee, and I still find it to be super sick how the details of the exosuit do match up with some of the details that we have on the actual robot mode of Mirage himself. I just think that is a great attention to detail. Next up, here we have Nightbird and Airraiser, Voyager class Cheetor and Rhinox, buzzworthy Bumblebee Optimus Prime and Leader class Optimus Primal, till all are one. And finally, the leader class Scourge. And as I mentioned previously, I really did think it was just so cool how the human character went up against the main threat of a live-action Transformers film. It was such a breath of fresh air, and I hope to see more of it going forward in the future. Now, with the size comparisons out of the way, let's get this guy transformed into his jet mode. So, first of all, you are going to want to attach both the exosuit to the jetpack. What we can then do is take the wings and splay these here out to the sides. Now, the instructions do state that if you decide to keep the jetpack on Noah, that you can also do this, and I guess it kind of replicates when he does use the jetpack in the movie. So, it's an option, it's something that you can do, but as we spin him here to the side, as you can see, we do get a slot that this tab on the back of the arm is going to snap into, spin around here to this side and do the exact same, so port that in. We can then flip around here to the top, take the nose cone of the jet and hinge this forwards. And one thing which I love about this is everything is on a pin joint, so despite this being a core class, it definitely doesn't feel cheaply made by any means. As we come here to the underside, you're then going to want to take the ab crunch, bring this forwards, so that will allow enough clearance for us to take the rear tail of the jet and bring this here all the way back, as that tiny little tab is actually going to peg into Noah's ass. So bring that down, we can then snap Noah's ass into place, and on the back of the legs we do have some slots which are just going to peg into these tabs. We can then take the heel spurs, line these up here with these slots, and then for a finishing touch you're going to want to whack out his arm cannon, peg this into the front end of the jet, and bang! Here we have Noah Diaz's exosuit fully transformed into his jet mode. Now, despite this never actually being an official form that we saw in the movie, considering that we know Mirage can take multiple forms, it would make sense that maybe it could transform into a jet, and it does look like a jet that Mirage would be. I mean, check out the electro blue highlights, that looks pretty awesome, but I am so grateful they've given us the ability to remove the exosuit. As we flip him to the underside, it is clearly visible that it's just a robot hanging out on the base. So, to show you guys what it looks like without the exosuit attached, it's actually a pretty clean jet, and to make it even cleaner, you can completely remove the cannon, and yeah, it's not bad. So I guess technically you do get a 2-in-1 with this that can be separated, and the details on this are also pretty sweet. And here for a comparison that I thought you guys may be interested in, here is how the exosuit pairs alongside the truck mode of Optimus Prime and the Camaro form of Bumblebee. So definitely way out of scale, but to be fair, I do think Noah looks pretty sick being slung over the back of Optimus Prime's truck to kind of reenact the final battle once they take out Unicron and are rolling out into battle alongside the beast mode of Optimus Primal. And so, wrapping up on this review for the Transformers Studio Series Core Class, Noah Diaz Exosuit, and Terracon NOVAKANE. In the case of NOVAKANE, it's an okay repaint slash retool. I mean, there were thousands of these in the final battle, so in terms of an army builder, it is nice that there are a few alternatives to just picking up Frieza, so it doesn't feel like you're buying exactly the same figure over and over again, as the slight battle damage variation is definitely cool, and this was a variant of one of these that we saw in the movie, so that's pretty sweet. But if you already own Frieza and you're not too fussed about the battle damage on NOVAKANE, then really and truly you can give this guy a straight up pass. But in terms of the Noah Diaz exosuit, I am so happy with this guy. For a core class, I think he's excellent, definitely one of the best core class figures that they've released, and with the exception of some of the cassettes for the Studio Series 86 subline, I really think this may be among my favourite core class figure of all time. It is so well detailed, excellent articulated, and I'm so glad how they give you the option to completely remove the jetpack. Had that been a permanent fixture, then I really would have had quite a few issues with this, but I love how it can be separated and the exosuit looks just as sleek and clean as it was on screen. It's a great figure, and if you have been collecting all of the Rise of the Beast characters, then this is definitely one that I think is going to look pretty sweet to pair alongside both Mirage and Optimus Prime. I would love to get your thoughts on these two down in the comment section below. What do you guys think, especially about the Noah Diaz exosuit? I thank you all so much for watching. Until my next video, transform and roll out!